This is a MINI Countryman, or in our case, the MINI Countryman. It's one of the two cars we drive daily, me and my partner, when we're not reviewing cars. The other one is a Mazda MX-5 NC, which my partner and I bought new back in 2012. Today I'll share my observations after 9 months of using the Countryman, how much the car cost me, do the all-terrain tires do anything, and the cherry on top, Android Auto. You can skip to any of the topics by clicking the appropriate chapter on the progress bar, and now, let's go! If you missed the video in which I introduced the Countryman and explain why we decided to lease it, there's a link in the description below. And if you don't want to watch it, spoiler alert, here's a brief summary of what happened in the last episode. The MX-5 is a great car, but we just don't fit in with all my video gear. Therefore, we needed a second car if we wanted to travel somewhere and take more than just our basic clothes and cosmetics with us. A disclaimer, we are spoiled because we get to drive new cars every week, and what for some of you may be an interesting choice or a sensible choice or even a dream, for us is not necessarily so. Sure, a Skoda Superb Scout would do the job, but for us, it would be a bit too basic. Also, buying anything from the VW group would be frowned upon by some of the conspiracy theory-seeking viewers, so many models had to be scratched off our list. Why not, for example, the BMW X3? It's a bit expensive, and there is no amount of options from the individual catalog that would make the X3 vaguely stand out from the crowd. We also thought about the Land Rover Defender, but we wanted the 90, which has a tiny boot, and the 110 was too expensive. Anyway, by the time we finished configuring the 90, it turned out we could barely afford the commercial version with 3 seats abreast, and yes, we seriously considered it as well. Why not an EV then? Because in order to travel comfortably in an EV on longer distances, I need a reliable charger network of at least 100 kilowatt chargers. And there are about a dozen of these in Poland today, and last year there were even less. Now, we were considering the ID.3, but it was already delayed, and that was before the pandemic hit, and then we saw what the finished product was and we weren't impressed. And the Mini, well, we did have certain mods planned, so now you really need to watch the previous episode. Link below. How's the Countryman to live with? Pretty good. I really like that I can adapt the cargo area. There is some space under the floor, and with the optional sliding rear bench and adjustable backrest angle, there's just so many options when packing. Sometimes you just need a couple of centimeters to close the tailgate, and this means putting the backrest at a more upright angle or sliding the seat just a little bit forward, and you're golden, and there's still space in the back for adults. The picnic bench is a crowd pleaser when it comes to showing off the car, and it looks great in the photos, but we never actually sat on it to enjoy the view. We just don't drive the Countryman enough for us. It's all work, work, work. We really need that vacation in September. The boot liner attracts all sorts of debris, and if you overdo it with the vacuum, it's going to get all fuzzy and be even worse. I'd love to be able to take out the double floor and just shake it out properly, but it's attached permanently. I can only raise it to put something underneath. But there is no place to stow the parcel shelf. Hands-free opening and closing of the tailgate works brilliantly, and I use it constantly. Worth it. Although I never travel in the back, people who did say it's very comfortable, especially when they were driven on the same 350-kilometer route a week earlier in a Dacia Jogger. My mother-in-law loves the Countryman, especially compared to the MX-5, which she detests from day one. I don't know why. She can never travel in the back. The cockpit is as well laid out as in the Mark 7 Golf, but definitely more visually appealing. The door pockets are big enough, the cup holders are even big for US-sized cups. The glove box is quite big and I never use it. The armrest storage is on the small side, and therefore I don't use it much either. I may once I get a smartphone that A, fits, and 2, has wireless charging. For now, my Xperia 1 is fine and I don't need to spend another 1,300 euro on a new flagship. Sony, if you're listening, watching, whatever, Anna and I will gladly take a couple of Xperia 1 Mark IVs. We show our phones in pretty much every video. We're weird like this because we love our MacBooks, but we're Android phone people. So we need Android Auto, which MINI doesn't offer yet. However, our MINI has it. More about that later. Now let's talk driving impressions. Like I said in the previous video, we've installed a roof rack. Not because we need it, because we like the way it looks. The same goes for the additional high beam lights. I used the roof rack once to take a broken treadmill to a recycling center. The rack also causes greater wind noise. Maybe you hear this whistling here. And it increases fuel consumption by about 15%, but I don't care. I like the way it looks. As for the additional high beam LEDs, I tried filming the difference with them exposed and covered at night, but to be honest, I couldn't tell much of a difference with a naked eye, not to mention on camera. So far, we've driven over 7,000 kilometers, almost 8,000, and about half of it were road trips and the rest was around Warsaw, shopping, picking up test cars. And the MINI is also our chase and follow car for car-to-car shots. So during the 9 months we have it, the Countryman did about 1,500 kilometers as a camera car. This is a 2-liter 170 horsepower petrol motor with all-wheel drive. Over the course of the 9 months, the average fuel consumption was 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Without the roof rack, it would be closer to 7. So the roof rack cost me about 100 liters of petrol so far. My best result when going through some villages was about 7 liters per 100 kilometers. On the other end of the scale, I don't think I ever exceeded 10 liters, but then I don't drive this car particularly hard. It's not what I had in mind when I was configuring it. The 17-inch rims are a conscious choice, not saving money. It's easier to find 17-inch all-terrain tires. If you don't know, these are the most aggressive tires that are still relatively comfortable on the road. You can do some off-roading with them, but they aren't as hardcore as mud terrain tires. By the way, my all-terrains didn't impact the fuel economy compared to my winter tires. However, I do not rule out warmer weather helped compensate some minor differences. The MINI came from the factory on some ugly Bridgestones. I'm talking pure aesthetics here. I didn't like the way they looked, and they were summer tires anyway, and as the car arrived in October, I bought a set of Goodyear Ultra Grip Performance winter tires with BMW homologation for around 480 euro. And now I'm on summer Cooper Discoverers for 410 euro a set. By the way, MINI charged me 170 euro for changing my tires winter to summer. The invoice is with my accountant, so I don't know if this includes tire storage or not. I'll find out in late autumn. When buying the tires, I was looking less at the brand and performance and more at how the tires looked. The Ultra Grips look almost as aggressive as the Discover all-terrains, so that was the decisive factor here. Now, fun fact, when I switched from road winter tires to summer all-terrains, I noticed the Countryman floats a bit more when driven hard. It's easier to provoke slight oversteer, and overall the all-terrains seem more comfortable on the road and they look business. By the way, a few months ago, BMW announced the Untamed edition on 18-inch all-terrains. However, in my opinion, if you want to drive anywhere off the beaten path, you want all the sidewall you can get. Of course, the all-terrain tires are louder than regular tires, but in my case the roof rack makes so much noise I can't hear the tires anyway, so it's okay. I don't want you to think I'm a total poser, so I did try the all-terrain tires out in some sort of terrain. This is as hardcore as it gets around where I live. I took the Land Rover Defender and the Jeep Wrangler up that sandy forest hill no problem, but those are off-roaders with low range and locking diffs. The Jeep Renegade Trailhawk couldn't drive over a tree root, there was no place to get enough momentum and its wheels were too small to just drive up this step. The Renegade Trailhawk has 21 cm ground clearance and an off-road mode in which the gearbox simulates low range. It's also possible to lock the all-wheel drive system, sort of. The Countryman has 16.5 cm ground clearance, and even with a 2 cm lift kit from X-Raid, it would only have the ground clearance of a Suzuki Vitara. The Mini also doesn't have an off-road mode, it doesn't even have hill descent assist. In my diagonal approach test, the Countryman all 4 did better than many other crossovers, but this requires only a brief push from the rear wheels. On a long sandy steep hill, the tires did help, but the roots sticking out of the sand as well as insufficient ground clearance forced me to slow down, and this meant the car was starting to dig in. I suspect I drove the Countryman off-road harder than 99% of all Countryman owners, but I'm not one of those modern kindergartens to award good effort. The Mini passed with a D+. Now, I awarded the Countryman points for not getting stuck completely, for not losing any parts, and for not feeling broken when I got back on tarmac. And before someone writes a comment that it's not an off-road car, I know, this is not an off-road car. In most crossovers, the all-wheel drive system is mainly to help dynamics on tarmac. Perhaps it improves traction on gravel roads. An observation regarding the HUD, some viewers said the plastic element doesn't look premium and they prefer HUD on the windscreen. So did I, until I got a new pair of sunglasses with a polarizer filter. I can see what's displayed on the plastic bit, but I can't see what's on the windscreen HUD, so that's that. So who wants to know how I got Android Auto in a Mini? And what the cuff? Kia these days gets Android Auto as standard, and in the Mini it's not even an option. It took ages for BMW to strike a deal with Google about Android Auto. For years, BMW claimed its premium customers who want to buy their premium cars use premium iPhones. Bull crap! Anyway, in 2019, late 2019 actually, BMW announced that as of mid-2020, all new models will get wireless Android Auto, and they did, but only models with BMW OS 7 infotainment, which meant CLAR models 3 Series and up. The UKL platform models, 1 Series, 2 Series, as well as X1, X2 and all the Minis, were to get the upgrade with the new infotainment system, so that meant new generation or facelift. BMW gradually introduces the OS 7 and OS 8 to some of the UKL models, but Mini, well, semiconductor shortage. These days, when you order a BMW or a Mini or any other brand, to be honest, you cannot be certain what you will actually get and if you will actually get it. When I took delivery of the Countryman, I was told I cannot upgrade the software to make it compatible with Android Auto. So I started looking around, I even asked my viewers, and Jacob of JJ Design Audio contacted me. I'll link his website and Instagram below. Check him out. He does audio, soundproofing, software updates, and many other things. During my first visit, Jacob established what actually came out of the factory and he started looking for a solution. Under the screen I have older hardware, but the cables seem to be ready for new hardware. So if the car was made a few weeks later, perhaps it would get newer hardware, if parts were available of course. And then it would maybe be possible to get an Android Auto upgrade. Depending on the model and hardware, it may be possible to modify the software, but if the system connects to the cloud, any such modifications may get overwritten to the current version.
Jacob searched for the appropriate module for several months. Finally, he found one and he installed it on my car. The module costs about €350 and the installation cost about €200 plus VAT. Now, I was given a discount and I was allowed to film some of what he was doing.
Jacob asked me not to film everything. If you know your way around the car infotainment system, you don't need a tutorial, and if you don't know where to start, I suggest you don't. At best, you'll break some trim, and the worst case scenario is that you will break something inside, and that's going to be expensive to fix. The whole installation process took about 90 minutes. And then Jacob also fixed a knocking part of the seatbelt mount for me. It took him 15 minutes, but he had to remove a lot of trim to reach it. I've seen something like this done before, so I know it's a piece of cake for a pro, but it's not for faint-hearted first-timers. That's why not everyone likes when the customer is looking at what they are doing.
If you want to get Android Auto in your Mini or BMW, just type JJ Design Audio in your sat-nav. Here we go. And by the way, hashtag not sponsored.
How does it work? The module is between the internal hardware and the screen. Hold the menu button longer and you go between the Mini and the module interface. Android Auto is wireless, but first pairing requires a cable connection. A USB port is under the plastic trim in the passenger footwell. This port is also for any future software updates. Aftermarket solutions like this are not ideal, especially if you have several phones paired and keep going in and out often. Wi-Fi connection errors are frequent, unfortunately. Buttons on the steering wheel work, but the touchscreen doesn't work with Android Auto, and you have to use the iDrive controller or voice commands.
To sum up, I realize in my situation the Countryman is a whim, but I still like the car. If I wanted something a bit more sensible today, I'd probably look at the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer, but I doubt I'd be able to afford it as prices have shot up and the waiting times are just ridiculous. And what about you? Did you manage to order or maybe even take delivery of a car? How long did you have to wait? What did you have to give up in order to speed up the production process? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.